Welcome back, everyone, to Morning Line. Happy to have with us former First Lady of Tennessee, Andrea Conte. She is here talking about an event that's going to take place tomorrow at the Centennial Arts Center in Centennial Park. That's 301 25th Avenue North, a very special event honoring children who have died at the hands of violence here in Nashville. And so there are some of the details. It's going to be a special event, and we've really talked about its meaning and why it's so important, but it's been great to really hear some of those details. This is something that's very important to you. You've worked on this for a very long time. There's going to be a website, is that right? So I feel like you're kind of building on all of this, but what is the future there?
Well, you're right. We've been building on it. We've been working on this. Actually, I started conversations in 2015, but we have starting in 2017. We had our first meeting of the Children's Memory Garden Working Group, which is a group of volunteers. That included founders and representatives from the police department, district attorney's office, victim advocates, conservancy. You have the power. And we've been working on all of these issues, setting up some guidelines and policies for the Children's Memory Garden itself, and talking about design, the input on design for the new garden. And this, again, is a group of volunteers. We're not officially set up by the county or by Metro. And they've been absolutely wonderful, invaluable, in fact. So we're at the point where we have finished this book. We want to present it to the families. But that's 23 children. We still have, and that's probably 10% of what we have left to do. We want to write the stories of all the children who are in the garden.
Wow, okay.
So that's another 200 plus. And we're going to be working on that. And when those stories are done, we're hoping to have a website, the Children's Memory Garden website, so that we could put each one of those stories on the website. Because each of those families, each of those children should be represented, because they have a story to tell.
That's fascinating. And I keep asking, what do you hope we can all learn from that? So there's value, obviously, for that family to feel like their child is being remembered. But it's greater than that even, right? So the value for our community, when they see all of those stories, one after the other, of these children, what do you think that value is?
I think the value is going to be the question of, what can I do? It's not something, this is not a problem just for the police. It's not a problem just for the schools. It really is a problem we all have to look at. This is a community problem. And I think just asking that question of, what can I do, instead of what are they going to do?
Mm-hmm. And do you think when you read these stories, they're things that pop up that we realize we can do? It maybe does empower us, certainly to ask the question, but do you think then there are answers that may arise in our heads when we read these things?
I think that there are going to be, when we look at things in detail, that we realize there are some points of intervention that may have prevented this from happening. Not in all cases, but I think there may be some things that we could be doing that could prevent. Imagine if we considered violence a disease and looked at it from the standpoint of, what could we do to prevent it? What could we do to treat it? Because we have resources. but sometimes they're not in the right place.
We do have resources. I think sometimes people are overwhelmed. I think they see some of this again in the news, and it's just this litany of problems, and they're just overwhelmed. And sometimes it helps to just stop and look at a situation and look at the human being behind it, and this is that person's life, that child's life, and maybe there are points of intervention. But if somebody's overwhelmed, what do you say to them?
I think that it's easy to become overwhelmed with this, but then I think of these kids, and I think of these families. And I think when we have the families of these children tomorrow night together, and some of them have not met each other, I think becoming part of that group, sharing information, because you get a lot of support and encouragement and just will from being in a situation like that. Because a lot of these families are, I mean, it's devastating. It's devastating to lose a child, and so suddenly.
I can't imagine.
And it takes so long to heal. It takes so long to come back from that. And in I mean, it takes years. And they finding some comfort and solace with each other, I think can help that.
It's so powerful. Thank you so much for coming on. Former First Lady of Tennessee, Andrea Conte, thank you. And we'll kind of highlight the event when we come back in the next segment. But thanks for being here and sharing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Take a break. Be back right after this.